pleased to have on Erica Bartal, who at the age of 29, you were diagnosed with breast cancer. October is over, now we're in November, but I think breast cancer awareness should go on all year long. So let's talk about it. How did you get your diagnosis, Erica?
Well, you know, I was watching on TV one day, and I was at work, and I said to myself, "Hey, Erica."
And you're a nurse, a
I'm a
cardiac
nurse. Yes, yes. I said, "Erica, you're 30. You're a nurse. You got to go home and feel the girls tonight." And actually, that night, I found the lump. So,
did you have any suspicions prior to that? I mean, you're a nurse. You know all about one's body, all of that. Did you have some kind of an inkling that something wasn't right?
I actually didn't know. I didn't realize that it happened to non-postmenopausal women. I thought it was kind of a disease that happens to the older generation.
Right. So you thought, I'm too young, I could never have breast cancer.
Exactly.
And you were 30, not 29.
30, yes.
So what happens then? You feel something. Mm-hmm. And then what happens?
It was kind of like a divine intervention. I went to my OBGYN, and luckily she took me seriously and sent me for an ultrasound. And kind of from then, when the radiologist came out, I knew that it might be something that wasn't what I was looking for in terms of test results.
What are you going through mentally at 30 years old, being told that you have breast cancer?
I actually didn't believe it, you know, but as a nurse, I think I speak for nurses everywhere, you think you have everything. So when I came home and told my husband, I think I had this, he's like, "You're good, you're fine," you know, so.
Any breast cancer in your family?
My maternal grandmother did have it and did pass away from it, but it was kind of more due to her not following through.
Later onset. Mm-hmm. So you get this diagnosis, you have a lumpectomy. Then what starts to stir you to get people educated to found Promise to Feel 'em, which is your organization now? What spurs you to do this? Because you just happen to find it, and because you did this, it spurred other people to find their cancers?
Yeah, my story reached a friend of a friend really early on in my diagnosis, and she subsequently went home and felt a lump at the same exact age. And it was an early stage breast cancer as well, so I kind of realized, hey, if my story could reach one, it could reach many. And during that process, I realized and talked to my girlfriends, and you know, we all say we're going to go home and do a self-exam, but it doesn't really happen. And so my goal was to kind of create this catalyst, which is the lapel pin for Promise to Feel 'em, that kind of initiates that conversation between two women. And as I pin you with the Promise to Feel 'em pin, you go home kind of with a sense of obligation to go home and feel the girls, Promise to Feel 'em.
So you designed this. You worked with people who designed it.
Yes, exactly.
And it's a heart and hand.
Yes. I wanted to steer clear of the pink ribbon because I do feel like everyone is aware of breast cancer awareness. That's no surprise. I wanted something that might reach a younger generation, the millennial generation. So I steered clear from the ribbon, and I kind of wanted to make it classy and appealing, and something that a woman would want to wear.
I love that you say you should feel an obligation to pass this on. So you can purchase these, and they come wrapped in a box, and 5 come in a box.
Yes, 5 for the 5 fingers.
5 for the 5 fingers, and then let's say I get this. What do you want me to do with these?
I want you to open it up, wear one, and share one. It's small enough to put in your purse so that when you go out on the town, you feel this connection to a woman that you're talking with. You to say, hey, you know what, listen, I want to pin you. And you know, your promise to me is to go home and Promise to Feel 'em and pin it forward.
So it starts a conversation.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
We have some pictures of you. When you had the lumpectomy, you did chemo, and you lost your hair.
Yes.
What's that like?
It was actually almost worse than the diagnosis. The actual pulling out of the hair is very traumatic, and if I had to do it over again, I'd just buzz it, because I just rocked the bald head. So.
But this changes you forever?
It does. I mean, they you know, when you get diagnosed, people say these cliche things like it's gonna, you know, it's your new life and it's gonna be a blessing in disguise. And it is. And I like to go with this quote that was said by a kid that had cancer multiple times, and he said, it's not everything happens for a reason. Things happen, and then you find a reason for them. And that's what I aim to do. And in that same process, being a young adult cancer survivor, there are issues of fertility and all that other stuff. And I was told that we had to put off family planning for a while. So I said, I can't say woe is me. I have to go out and kind of do something positive.
So coming off the pictures just a moment, let's talk about that. When your doctor says to you, you need to put off a family. You're 30 or 31 years old by now. What happens?
It's a very emotional journey, and I was lucky to have family and friends, and particularly, obviously, my husband that supported that journey. And I chose not to do fertility, which is a personal decision. But it's, as a younger breast cancer survivor, you feel kind of lost when you're looking for support and information dealing with that. You get told you have to do chemo one week, and you're also dealing with what do I do fertility-wise and everything else. So, yeah.
So we should say you're cancer-free.
I am for 2.5 years, 3 years in December.
And you're going to plan a family somewhere down the road.
Exactly. Just a few years down the road. I have to wait a few years.
In the meantime, you're helping others with your pins. And the name of it, again, is Promise to Feel 'em. Now, you have a friend, Tracy, who's out on the West Coast, who is a photographer. And we've got another picture of you here that we're going to put up about you doing a calendar with Tracy.
Yes.
This is you as sort of a pinup girl.
Exactly.
Which is adorable. You helped Tracy find her cancer, and then what happens to have her start to do these calendars with cancer survivors from women all over the country?
Well, actually, she found it herself, and the thing that brought us together was the similar diagnosis and the feeling that we kind of really didn't belong in that breast cancer survivor world.
Do you hate the word survivor?
I don't hate the word survivor.
Some do.
Thriver.
Thriver, yes. So she puts together these calendars.
She is. She's a photographer by trade, and what she wanted to do, we randomly met through, family photographer conference, whatever, and so we Skyped back and forth, and she asked me to be a 2015 bombshell, she calls them, and it's called love12.com, spelled out 12.
Love12.com.
And every woman that's featured in there is a young adult cancer survivor. And they've really just turned their negative into positive. And she emphasizes that, there's the darkest moment where you get told that you have cancer. And in creating this calendar, she wants women to feel a new sense of self. You kind of lose your self-body image, and she wants you to kind of redefine yourself. And that's why she started this.
As a cardiology nurse, you're not an oncology nurse, so you're
Nope.
not dealing with that. Do you find yourself, though, if you have some patients, kind of sneaking in your message from time to time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it helps me understand what being a patient is like now, and I don't usually tell my patients I'm a survivor because it's not about me when I'm at the bedside, but sometimes it does help for me to relate to them and for them to get through their toughest time.
How has this changed your life going forward? I said to you before we started taping that I have a sister who had breast cancer, a first cousin with breast cancer, and women emerge so strong. Where does that come from after being threatened with cancer?
Like I told you, I think I got pissed off enough to do something about it. And I'm just seeing more and more women that are younger. And so I really just want them to know that this is happening. I'm not a scientist or a researcher. I want to eventually, I support those causes. But right now, if I can make a woman that's 24, 25 aware that maybe something's different and they should just follow up with that lump, and
save a life.
Exactly, or know that it's nothing and benign, and then have something to work off of in later years if she finds something different. As a nurse, I advocate for my patients. I have to advocate for women my age.
Well, Erica Bartal, promisetofeelem.com.
Yes.
Buy a pin and make people go home and make sure they're checking their breasts.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Actually, thank you.
pursuits, but when they sin, who's this girl? Spend all night kissing, and if was right here, then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked if I'm so wishing to find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Need to keep locked in the grocery store of the mind, just to save time. Skip right ahead to the last ride. The harder we look, the less we can see. Don't you know, you know, you know that you